Welcome to Wallace and Wire. Today we're talking about Anwar's swift diplomatic push regarding the intercepted humanitarian ship.
Yeah, this really blew up quickly, didn't it? The Global Solidarity Flotilla stopped by Israeli forces.
Right. And the crucial thing, the aid it was carrying for Gaza, well, it never got there because of this interception.
And it hit close to home for us immediately because there were Malaysians on board.
15, I understand. 15 Malaysian volunteers.
That's right, 15. Initially, there was real concern. News confirmed they were detained.
But the foreign ministry acted fast.
Very fast. They put out assurances, said they were safe, well looked after, and that arrangements were already underway for repatriation.
Repatriation through a third country was the phrase used. We should maybe circle back to what that actually means.
Definitely.
And Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim's reaction. It wasn't just quick, it was, well, forceful.
Forceful is the word. No diplomatic niceties, really. He went public almost immediately.
Calling the interception a clear sign of the decline of human values. Strong words.
Yeah, very strong. And he laid down a clear demand. These atrocities must stop immediately.
That kind of direct, almost moral language sets a very specific tone, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It frames the whole thing, not as some legal argument about maritime law, but as a fundamental moral failing.
Signaling, maybe, that Malaysia wasn't going to just follow standard procedure here.
Exactly. It told everyone internationally and domestically that his government would push hard on this. The speed, the coordination. That's what's really interesting to unpack.
Okay, let's do that. Because it wasn't just rhetoric. There was a clear strategy. And the U.S. angle is maybe the most, well, surprising part.
Right. Announcing he'd personally contact the U.S. Secretary of State, Mr. Rubio.
Why go straight to Rubio? That seems like jumping a few steps.
It totally is. Normally you'd see, notes pass through embassies, maybe a call between lower officials first.
So, going to the Secretary of State directly, what's the signal there?
It's about forcing the issue, putting it right at the top of the U.S. agenda. It acknowledges a perhaps uncomfortable reality.
Which is?
That the U.S. has the most significant, maybe the only, real immediate leverage over Israel's actions in a situation like this.
So it wasn't just, please help, it was, you need to use your influence.
Precisely. The demand was for immediate intervention, to get all the volunteers released. And he added that phrase.
Can no longer be any delay.
Yes. That communicates a real sense of urgency, maybe even frustration. It positions Malaysia as demanding action from the superpower, not just asking nicely.
Trying to bypass the usual diplomatic dance.
It seems like it. Trying to get results fast by going straight to the person perceived to have the most clout.
It's high stakes, though. Puts pressure on Washington. What if they didn't react immediately?
That's the risk, absolutely. But crucially, he wasn't just waiting on that call. He'd already laid the groundwork elsewhere, regionally.
Ah, okay. So the U.S. call was happening, but other moves were already made.
Yes, and this shows some pretty layered thinking. Before that U.S. announcement, he'd already been on the phone.
To who?
The president of Turkey, the president of Egypt, and the prime minister of Qatar.
Okay, Turkey, Egypt, Qatar. Why that specific group? They play quite different roles in the region.
They do, but for this specific crisis, they form a sort of perfect triangle. Turkey is often very vocal on this issue, a strong political ally.
Provides diplomatic weight, maybe, in Europe and the Middle East.
Exactly. Then Egypt. Well, Egypt is critical geographically.
Because of the border with Gaza?
Right. Any practical movement of people or aid often involves Egypt. Getting people out, repatriation. Egypt's cooperation is almost always needed.
Makes sense. And Qatar? The mediator.
That's their role, often. Qatar has a track record, of facilitating talks, back-channel communications where others can't. They have financial and political influence they can bring to bear.
So by lining up Turkey, Egypt, and Qatar,
he built a regional bloc demanding the release. Applying pressure from multiple angles, political, logistical, even before that call, to the U.S. Secretary of State potentially connected.
It paints a picture of very rapid, coordinated action. And it backs up his domestic message, doesn't it? The strong stance on protecting Malaysians.
Absolutely. He made that very clear at home. He said Malaysia will never stand idly by when the rights and dignity of its citizens are violated.
That's a powerful promise, especially for people doing risky humanitarian work.
It is. It signals that this kind of work has the government's full backing, maybe a shift from more cautious approaches in the past.
Yeah.
It puts the safety of volunteers front and center. non-negotiable.
And then there's the way he framed the actions of the volunteers themselves. He didn't just defend them, he sort of elevated what they were doing.
He did. He tackled the crime narrative head-on. What was their supposed crime?
According to him.
Embodying the value of care. That was it. Simply acting on the humanitarian principle of helping the vulnerable, the sick, the hungry, women, children.
That's a really interesting reframing. It turns the interception from a security action into, well, an attack on basic decency.
Precisely. It takes the narrative away from the interceptors and focuses on the morality of the aid mission itself.
Making the interception look like an obstruction of essential human kindness.
And that ties into his concluding point. He talked about the difficulty of getting aid into Gaza, into Palestine generally.
And his point was,
if you can't even manage that, if delivering basic food and medicine becomes impossible, then human values mean nothing.
That's a stark conclusion, almost an ultimatum to the world.
It puts the incident in a much larger philosophical context. It's not just about one ship. It's about whether core global values have any meaning in practice.
And we saw some practical results quickly, right? The confirmation about the Malaysians being safe.
Yes, and that detail about repatriation through a third country. Let's unpack that, like you said.
What does that usually involve? It sounds complicated.
It is complicated. It means direct routes home are blocked or unsafe. It means intense negotiation.
Finding a neutral country willing to step in.
Usually, yes. A country like, say, Turkey or maybe Egypt that agrees to receive the detainees temporarily and then facilitate their onward journey to Malaysia.
So it requires agreements, guarantees, flights, all arranged very quickly.
Extremely quickly. High-level political coordination is essential. The fact the foreign ministry could confirm this arrangement so soon after the detention.
It suggests those calls to Turkey, Egypt, and Qatar weren't just talk.
It suggests they were already bearing fruit. Logistical results happening within hours. It shows the regional network was activated and effective.
So not just grandstanding for the cameras. Real, practical diplomacy was happening behind the scenes.
It seems so. Immediate, effective crisis management using those established regional connections.
When you look at the whole picture, calls to the Middle East, coordination likely involving Europe through Turkey, and the direct challenge to North America via the U.S., that's a huge diplomatic effort in a very short time.
It really is. Contacting leaders across 3 continents almost simultaneously. It sets a very high benchmark for crisis response.
It definitely sends a message about how seriously Malaysia views the safety of its citizens abroad, especially those on humanitarian missions.
A very strong message. It shows a willingness to use top-level political capital immediately when citizens are detained in these kinds of circumstances. This will likely be looked at as a case study in proactive diplomacy.
A precedent, perhaps?
Could be. It established a clear line. Malaysia will act decisively.
It raises a question, though, for you listening and for the future. Can this level of intense, personal, top-level diplomatic intervention be sustained for every crisis?
That's the strategic challenge, isn't it? This took immense focus and political will. Can that be the default response every time? It's something to think about following this.
How does Malaysia balance this proactive stance going forward?
Remember to like and subscribe for more videos like this.